All right, welcome everyone. Today we're gonna work on some fabric. And I've been working a lot on hands. It's episode 7. I know I said yesterday it was episode 5. Got my count off. Today, episode 7. So we're gonna work on cloth. The last few days have been all skin tones, hands, faces. Maybe some hair, quite a bit of different things that we've worked on. But now it's time to work on another texture. So we're going to work on cloth and part of the outfit or clothing of Saint Dymphna here. So great to have you along. Thanks for watching. And again, please ask questions as you have them. And I'll be glad to field them. I've already started a little bit on this green cloak she has on, very subtle green. And, the tendency on these sorts of things is to kind of overdo it, have a lot of, have too much green, have it too saturated. But for this, we're just going to stick with trying to keep it a little more accurate. And I think that's all I have really, but let's begin. I've mixed up a few colors just as I normally do, just to kind of prep myself. And you see these are very, you could call them green, but they are in many ways, barely within the green hue, and that's all right. So when I think fabric, of course, you can go back in art history and see some amazing colors, well, not colors, but paintings of fabric that are really very detailed and every fold's described. But when I think of like fabric in its best depicted form, it is absolutely John Singer Sargent. No contest. The way he, through just a handful of marks, could recreate fabric and really give it volume and depth. It's my favorite. And so I kind of try to, anytime I'm working on fabric, is channel some John Singer Sargent. So let that be known as I get started here today, that's my goal. So right now, I'm kind of building in the overall shape of the light side of the fabric, dark side of the fabric, where the shadow is turning, and I want to get that main shape down. And then I'll begin to try to describe some of the shapes that I see here. But first things first, we got that main bit of shape in here. So also, if you were watching yesterday, I apologize. The atelier, I had some folks come in, and one thing led to another, and yep, that was the end of the stream. I didn't come back as I said I might. I didn't return, so apologies for those of you who were hoping to see the rest of St. Carlo Acutis's hands yesterday. I got them partially done, and you can see a little bit in the bottom right hand corner. You can see how far I got. They need a second layer. They were a little darker, and I really didn't have any underpainting or anything there to help out those darker colors to give it kind of some undergirding. So just back to it. I've got to fill in some of these spaces. So right now I'm just creating what is more or less the space where the fabric begins to kind of turn the corner away from the light and into the shadow. I'm gonna get a few of these shapes in, and again, rough, trying to keep it to just a stroke or two when I lay down color. I can see already that I've kind of gone too far with this, and that's okay. Everything can change. And it is all right. I'm gonna see if I can get hour and a half, 2 hours in today on the live stream. So feel free at any time to ask a question, give me some feedback. I know some of this is getting a little off the camera, watching it as I do it. But it is, I might be able to back up the camera just a little bit, see if we can see a little more. The challenge is then not to get in front of it. It's the hard part. So I kind of lean in front of the camera. The back it gets. So I do have to kind of adopt this strange painting posture in doing a live stream. But don't worry if you're saying, "Oh no, he's not gonna do a good job," or all the refinement, the small changes that will need to be met. I'll do those later, and probably not on camera because they're really subtle. You don't really get to see a lot of the, watching. Camera never is very helpful for that. It can only show so much detail. Really, you just need to come to Wichita, Kansas. Come hang out with me in the studio. There it is, an invitation. All right. Great. Start here. You can see a little bit more of that part I was talking about. One of the fun things about, increasingly getting more in is just watching it come into being. It's like all of a sudden there's like, oh, I've got, not only do I have the color of the skirt, but I've got some of the skin tones in, and then it's like, oh yeah, that is a painting. It is going to be something at some point. It's a long road on a piece this big. It's a long road to the promise. I build the compositions. I try to do everything I can to kind of imagine it done before I get started, and sometimes it can be a long road until you see that first bit of like, oh, that way this is starting to look like it's supposed to look like, or like the original hope. It's starting to get there. All right, I'm going to fill in some of these dark values. You see, I put in some color here, but it's not nearly dark enough. In the reference, you can see how we actually lose some of that dark edge, like all the way back here. Her shadow side just almost blends directly into the skirt of St. Josephine Bakita back here. So that's okay. We're gonna just let those things happen, but I do still have to make sure that I get it as dark as I can. And again, because I have not built this value up, I'm gonna not be able to quite do that as it stands. So we'll at least get something in there so that when I dive back into it a little later, once this layer is dry, I can make it look like I want. What we might do instead, I might shift gears. This green is kind of too dark, and I don't have enough underpainting built up underneath this. One of the things about my darks, and this is just more my issue than others' issues, is like my darks are very transparent. So I use two transparent colors to mix my black. And if you're wondering, what's a transparent color? It's really interesting. Different oil colors have different transparencies, and you can use that to great effect, especially when you consider like glazing and other techniques of that sort. It's better to use transparent colors rather than opaque colors. I bet if you just kind of looked across this, you'd be able to pick out more. I bet you'd be able to make it a really informed decision as to what colors were opaque and what colors were transparent. I bet you understand it more than you realize. And the only way that I really use those effects is in my darks. My darks are transparent. So sometimes they take a couple of layers in order to bring opacity to the area that I'm working on. And then the areas that are use opacity, so like your white, your yellow ochre, some of these guys in here, cad red, cerulean, these start to become more, they're lighter in value, you can see, and they're also more opaque. My darker colors are all very transparent. Yes, you can get this is raw umber. That starts to get a little more opaque, but I keep these kind of darker colors transparent and opaque colors lighter. A little bit on purpose. I never, when I started painting, I wouldn't have been able to tell you, yes, that's how I do it. But the longer I've painted, I've realized, oh, somebody already knew this stuff and they've talked about it and they've shown people, and I just kind of learned as I went and realized, oh, what I can make is almost imagine I'm gonna draw a little picture here. Like here's our oil painting surface. Maybe I can do it, yeah. Here's our oil painting surface. And we can fill in a bunch of layers of transparent dark. But then we have this area of opacity right here in the middle that almost floats as an island in what is essentially transparent color. And so that opacity is floating and light is not passing through it, but light is passing through more of the transparent layers. And actually it creates just a little bit more three-dimensionality. That's what I think anyway, when I'm doing it. It feels like it works that way. And there you go, your painting theory, technical discussion for the stream. I know really people just kind of want to watch it come together a lot of times. Some of you may have some of those specific questions. And I'm going to keep working on this green here, which means at times I'm going to have to take a look at this whole shoulder. Getting a lot of light. I'm going to have to lighten this up some. And that's good too. You can see the way she's sort of seated, that shoulder is really, there's a lot of, the weights resting on that arm, and that shoulder is really coming forward in a really beautiful pose. So I'm going to really try to emphasize the light on this shoulder. And I'm slowly changing the colors. I'm using a nice big brush to fill in. I'm using some yellow ochre, even though, yes, the cloak is green, but, as best we can, we'll try not to think about it in those terms. And think a little bit more about like, well, what colors am I seeing when I'm painting, and mixing those and putting those in. Just using the same brush. These subtle shifts, they don't require a lot. There we go. Oh, this is falling off the screen. Can't back up far enough. I could try. Maybe I can shift the camera just a little more. Work more on that side. This way. I'm probably going to get in the way of it. We'll see. I'll watch the stream here, make sure it looks okay. yeah, that shoulder, things that are going to help that really stick out there is if we really tell about this whole side here. I need to raise it up a little bit too, don't I? Slow changes. Gonna figure it out. Let's see if that helps. All right, this this shadow right here. We're really going to want to capture the shoulder, the light side here, turning into the shadow side. Yeah, I think that looks better. Now if I just can stay out of the way. Okay, so I'm going to start describing some of the shadows I see, which, you know, there's like a fairly significant one right there. And really that sort of, if I were just to sketch that shape out, it's something about like that. So my eye is imagining that shadow is going to occupy something about that size. Right. Just fill that in. Really quick like. I'm not trying to be too specific right now. Let's see, shadow side of the cloak. It's going to curve in. One of the cool things about fabric, landscape, within, you got a little bit of degree of in which you can kind of mess it up and not get it right. And then it still looks okay. But most people aren't going to say, hey, wait a second, that one little fold could not possibly exist in that space. You can get it so wrong that, you know, it doesn't, the fabric no longer follows the form. I could draw this light shadow here, or on the shoulder. I could, well, excuse me, this light shoulder shape here. If I drew it way down here, obviously it would look wrong, but, you know, anatomically her shoulder exists here. So as long as I'm keeping some of those things into play, that's all that's going to matter. And kind of accuracy of like, how big is a fold? How, you know. Now some of these folds that are, you know, they're clearly, you can see they're just like creases from me doing a really bad job hanging up the garment. I don't need those, don't need to be included. And I won't include them. Come down here. And these big marks. The same thing with this brush. A few of those drawings there, they just help me see. See where I need to fill in some other shapes. Because this is a hood, I want to just make a little mark here that describes that, you know, turning back, like there is a green hood here that's being folded back over her back. And I guess I do have a little shadow here on this side. This is a little low, but I'm also trying to save myself by not sitting on the floor. So it's kind of one of the weird in between spaces. So I'll look very hunched over. I try not to. I try to kind of sit upright, but in making this, I'm probably going to get hunched over quite a bit. One of the things that happens too, if you actually look down on what you're working, a lot of times you can avoid some of the glare, really subtle glare that can happen when you're painting. I don't know what your orientation is in your home studio or the studio, wherever you paint, but you'll find a really simple solution that I think a lot of painters overlook is how you orient the easel, the direction you're facing, and how you're painting. If you were in the studio with me right now, which you kind of are in the lower right panel, you will see that the light is coming from the left. In fact, the light is so much to the left, it's practically perpendicular. So light is raking across this way the panel from what I'm working on. Behind me, where you are, if you were to turn around the camera, you would just see the wall back behind. And that wall is not catching any light from the outside because we've got northern exposure here in the northern hemisphere. For those of you in the southern, I think you'll probably want a southern exposure. I think, I'm not sure. If I understand the celestial bodies and the way they move and tilt and times of the year and all that. But here in North America, north facing window is really nice, especially if you orient the canvas perpendicular to the window. And that way the light travels across it. Ooh, I've got a comment. Let's see. Hey, SOCat, thank you so much for watching and dropping in a message. I love it. Acknowledging that someone's here. Appreciate it. And if you have more questions, don't be shy, really. I am watching the chat, and I'll try to address those because I say it all the time, but I'm going to just talk about whatever. You're like, geez, he keeps talking about the orientation of the room. Tell me about this. And I'll be happy to tell and work on questions you might have. All right, I'm going to get a little more light here. And this is big, this big overall shape. That's our goal. This is like one big sphere with light falling on this side of the sphere, and it's slowly turning shadow oriented as it goes this way. Yeah, all these colors I think are going to need a second layer. So I'm not taking this too seriously. I want to block it in, and I will, but it's going to need a second go around. Unfortunately, I like to try to do it in one, but it just doesn't always work that way. All right. That shadow went up a little farther than I had it before. I think I'm going to quickly run out of my lightest green. I try to mix up enough of the piles of the various colors, keep me on track. I inevitably run out because I don't put enough paint out on my palette. I know. I hear my teachers, all my instrucors from all the ages and from every painting instructor ever. Put more paint out on your palette. Put more paint out on your palette. Sorry, I didn't do it. Okay. And a little bit of the cloak catching light here. This is, like I said, some of these folds will be nice. I'll want to include them. Go. I'm always amazed how much time flies when I kind of glance and see when the stream began, and I'm like, whoa, 20 minutes, 24 minutes ago. So you'll see me get to mix up a few more colors, and I'm going to have to pick up some more yellow ochre. I'm just trying to get off the bottom of the camera here or not. One of the things that we can keep doing, even though, like I said, the paint could maybe be a little too thin, I can try to, cake it on a little more. I might have to use a different brush. This is a synthetic. It's nice because it's wide. Bristles are long. Can load it up with a lot of color for some of these bigger passages. But I'll want probably switch it up because I'm a little smaller, shorter bristle length. Because you see, this is the way this gives. I'm not going to be able. I need a little more stiffness so I can lay in some thicker color. It's not going to give me what I want. Gonna mix up a few colors here in a second, so you'll get to watch that process on the upper right part of your screen. It's covering some of those areas that are still showing through. This color here is, of course, the ground layer. We're gonna start seeing less and less of that as I go along here. You're gonna see a lot of the painting just start to fill in, even if these are initial layers that don't make the final cut, meaning I go over them again. It's still it's nice to bring it up all to that same level and not have some of these bigger gaping areas that are just unfinished. I don't recommend it ever working in an unfinished way like that. But all right, it's time to mix some colors. I'm gonna have to grab some more. Okay, I can reach. I'll lean back, I think, and get to my oil color. All right, because I wanna try to match these a little bit, but also because I don't remember exactly what I used, sort of on purpose. I like to really take it fresh. It makes a fresh color. It's a little different. I think it adds to its overall success. All right, I need some yellow ochre. All right, let me get some more on here. Yellow ochre from Rublev Colors. This is their Blue Ridge Yellow Ochre. They didn't pay me to say that. I do like their company. All right. All right, so we're going to try to mix the color we see about right here, which is the area of the fabric that's in the light. As with almost all naturalistic colors, you'll be surprised at just how little hue or like saturation is in it. So I'm going to start off by making my mixed black. But you know what? I actually need more of that. So let's get some more ultramarine blue. Mixed black, ultramarine blue, burnt sienna. You'll hear me say it probably 50 times every video. But it is it's just really a nice, rich, transparent black. Utrecht colors right here. Big fan of Utrecht. Used them ever since college. Still one of my favorites. Still my go-to. I think pigment saturation for your dollar is really good. Utrecht color. Highly recommend. All right. See, I'm just going to mix that up, right? So can you believe it that this blue and this burnt sienna, this brown, orangey brown, mixed together and totally lose one another's hue. You can't even read it anymore, except that if I kind of drag it really thin, sometimes you can barely tell that it'll have either a blue or a brown tinge to it, depending on, you know, your mixture. I just want it to be neutral where I can't really tell anymore. So put some there. That's still a good start for something like this. I don't want to, you know, get too much green in there, but I wanted to have some. So I start off with my black, add a little bit of Viridian, and now it's this kind of electric, you know, it's hard to see until you really thin it out. It's kind of this electric green. Now, if I were using a palette that was white, if I was mixing on top of white, I would not be able to see this. This gray actually helps my eye see the color better. So highly recommend mixing on top of another color. Gonna add a little bit of yellow ochre. I want to start lightening it. It is gonna need some white at some point, but if I can lighten it significantly with a color rather than white, you'll be amazed at just how your colors don't have to die and turn chalky the more you can lighten them with some of your other colors. I do need just a little bit of the cad yellow. I don't know too much of it because it'll really make it stand out. And then, even though I'm mixing a green, you know, if you're like, this green actually has some orange in it, you're like, wait, how can that be? But if you do that, it's really gonna catch the light, kind of mixing that shoulder there, that light that's falling on the shoulder. Well, it's getting closer, and I'm kind of comparing it to the color over here, and it's not exactly the same, but that's all right. I'm going to grab just a little bit of white. You see, a little bit goes a long way. If you have good paints, your pigment saturation is going to be high, and you will you'll know it. If you're using like a student grade or a studio grade or economy grade oil paint, it will take gobs of it, especially if you're mixing it with other qualities. And there's more binder, less pigment. It's all worse. All right, now there's only one way for me to tell precisely how well I did on the mix, and that's by putting it down. Until I put it down, I have no idea. And so here goes. I expect it to be wrong, so I'm going to come in here and I'm going to drop it next to this guy. Not bad. It's a little bluer. This is a little more yellow here. The color that I mix is a little bluer. That's easy enough. I'll grab some yellow ochre, lighten it up some, turn it just slightly more yellow. Now, I tend to, more than what's there, emphasize warmer colors, so more yellow in areas that are in the light. I just always have, and I just like that warmth, that push of warmth. I think it's nice. All right, we're going to keep filling in. This side. Mixed all that color and about to run out of it already. Kind of having to work around my palette here, pulling some funny angles. This edge here, and you notice I'm using the brush. The brush is a flat, so it's just a straight line. So that means a lot of things I can do. I make it I can paint on it like this to achieve a shape. I can use it on the edge to get a line, and then I can use a corner if I need a dot. One tool, shape, line, dot, and I don't really need to change it. So try sticking with kind of one tool, as best you can, rather than one of the cardinal sins is like using a fan brush to paint trees, or there's like oh, I need to use this brush because it is shaped the way the form that I want to paint is. No, you can do it with just a simple filbert shaped brush. All right, I'm gonna create a little slightly darker value here because I am getting this whole form here is turning. So I'm just grabbing my next darkest value here. Same brush, nothing has changed. I want to get a certain width here, so look, that's the beauty of this brush. If I hold it like this, it'll be thicker. If I turn it slightly, I get closer, a little thinner. It just is an easy way to get so much done with one thing, and you don't have to have a whole lot. But I do like a good flat for drawing some things in with paint. All right, I see another shadow as I continue to work on this. This is a little more significant, so we'll put that shadow break in there. And this area is a little bit in the light. It's not terribly light. So I'll mix a little bit of the two colors together. That's why I love these premixes, because if I need to make a quick in-between, I can. All I have to do is pull to make that happen. So here goes. Dropping these in here. Yeah, if you just joined the stream, feel free to drop a question in. It'll be more exciting if you do. For me too, by the way. This is a lot more fun if people want to learn something and have a good question. And it's really okay to ask anything. I know it's like, oh no, what is he going to think if I ask this? I won't think anything. It's one of the things we prize the most, those people that we work with at the atelier, is those who are always willing to ask, rather than just try to wing it and pretend like they know. Oh man, those who ask questions, they learn something and they get better. Watch it all the time. Okay. Slowly filling in some of these shapes that I see. And it's getting there. I like glancing over to the stream because it's like me stepping back. A little hard in a stream just because of cameras and running into things. To step back, that's always one of those big painting rules, is like, oh, you've got to step back and see it from a distance in order to know what's going on. And it's kind of the one thing I can't do. So I use the streams, the little small screen over here on my tablet, to kind of give me some quick feedback to see if those main shapes are really working or not. Yeah, none of these are as dark as I would like, unfortunately. Some of these shadows are just deeper and darker. It's just going to require an extra layer. That's all right. A lot of times I'm on top of that. I'll do an underpainting and just to build up the lights and the darks. And I didn't on this. I just kind of dove in. Back up a little bit here. Start to get This is probably going off the edge of the camera. So I won't work any farther past that. Same tool, same brush, nothing's changed. I'm not really adding medium to it. I'm just grabbing the paint mixtures that I've already made. I'm really just using almost straight oil paint. If I know I'm going to cover a bigger area, then I will dip into my medium and get a little bit out so I can cover like a big space. But other than that, I mean, oftentimes I'm just not even using any medium whatsoever. Most cases. Set a fun memory. My dad used to drop into my live streams years ago, and he passed last year, but he would just drop in and say hi and maybe watch for a little bit from home or leave it on in the background. And I just suddenly recalled that, and I was like, oh, that's how sweet. Really, I miss him. Okay, let's see. We're gonna get the shadow side here of that little clasp. All right, so kind of glancing at all this, I'm probably not going to be able to achieve the darkness that I want in those deep dark shadows. And I'm going to place a few just extra shade colors here. Just some edge here that I don't have, right? Filling in this edge. Okay, so that overall shoulders is filled in, but it's kind of meaningless, especially when we have the area here that is not even slightly begun to be dealt with. I also just kind of glanced over and I was like, I've got this really nice clasp that I can't wait to put in, but it's going to need some value underneath it. So I'm just going to drop that in really quick. That'll save me the next time I come in. I'll be able to add that on. Okay. There we go. All right, let's see if we can mix up some lighter values. So I'm going to reserve these two brushes that I used as like, if I need to work back into some of this here, I will, as I mix up some of the whites. Largely, it's a gross overstatement, but I'm going to work on making this kind of a two value breakdown here in the chest. So I'm going to shift the camera back over a little bit before I get started, and I probably should do that now before I forget. And we're going to begin working on the area, the white blouse that's underneath. A little bit there. All right, I'm going to make some new colors, and it's I don't know, satisfying for me. I hope you enjoy just watching colors being mixed. Check out your upper right of the screen. I'm going to save colors I was using. I'm just going to pick them up, set them to the side. Oftentimes I use the real estate of my palette to save a few colors, ones that I know I'm going to come back to. And so I'll set that aside. And some of these are like really close together. So they're practically the same, but they're slightly different. And I know that, so I'll just group those together. I'll even throw this one in there too. So now we have a, fairly dark green there. We'll save that. We'll be back to it, don't worry. And I'll even save this one too, although it's increasingly looking like one of the other ones over there. All right. So when mixing something white, realize that there's of course no white. Everything is a color, but we are going to use a grayscale of sorts. But if we look very carefully, there are these areas where the warmth of, say, the skirt down here is bouncing back up into the blouse and creating some warmer values, a warmer neutral against here. And we're going to want to key into that eventually. I'm going to bring this a little bit more this way so I can see everything. If I look carefully, I can see already that I'll kind of do a quick assessment. So the lightest light, the areas that are like picking up the most light are this part on the sleeve here. And the darkest dark is somewhere down here. So these are just quick assessments. But actually, this is even darker here. So for some reason, there's just this kind of total occlusion of light way back in here. And then that turns around, as the fabric kind of curves up. So I want to start with mixing just this general shadow here is my goal. It's my starting point. Knowing that some of my colors are kind of already green here, I'll go ahead and pick up some of the burnt sienna. One of the interesting things that happens is just like I take these two colors, burnt sienna, ultramarine blue, to make a black, I can also make, that's a chromatic black. It's made of chroma. It has color in it. I can do the same with gray. And one of the grays I like to make is just a little bit lighter than the burnt sienna ultramarine is burnt sienna and cerulean. And it's just adding enough of that so that it eventually neutralizes into a gray. And I'm going to need a little more cerulean because it's still a little warm, but that's reading a little warm. And so this is it's another way. If I put a little more blue in it, it will actually look like a gray neutral, but I've made it with color. And so when I mix it with things, it actually doesn't neutralize in the same way that like a true gray. If you just took a white tube of paint and a black tube of paint, you mixed them together to create your gray, that one's going to look very different than this chromatic gray that I just made. Need a little more cerulean though. All right, very good. On to the next bit. A little more. Well, that's cerulean we got out. Just want to neutralize that a little more. It does turn this gray a little green, but not too bad. And I can always neutralize it with a little bit of red. Red being across the color wheel of green. This way that I can take out some of that green. Okay, so I'm going to set that aside. I'm also going to mix a neutral, and this is another way to do it. Like I always said, if you mix things across the color wheel, if you can imagine your color wheel, maybe that's something else I can put up in the top left corner. Color wheel. Ooh, that's a good idea. All right. Next time, someone remind me. Send me a comment on this video later and remind me that I wanted to do that. If I add cerulean, cad red, you know, that's obviously a red and a blue, kind of making a purple. And what is across the color wheel? Yellow, really yellow ochre. Now this takes a little more finesse. If I slowly work this, I can create another neutral using these three. And I just have to keep adding until I can't perceive what the hue is. So right now I'm continuing to add blue and I'm starting to lose it. It was looking a little warm, a little red, but now it's really starting to turn into a gray of sorts. And again, we made, so here's a grayscale right now that we made using only color. We didn't use black, we didn't use white, but we've got the chromatic black, burnt sienna, ultramarine blue, chromatic gray, a burnt sienna and cerulean, and another lighter one that is yellow ochre, cad red, and cerulean. These are all colors. They're all full of color. None of them has a white or black in it. Now, obviously, these areas in the light, we're going to have to add some white too. So let's